It's me, TMB, and I'm here because my problems are everyone's problems. Just you wait and see. Welcome back to TMB Problems. As you know, I'm TMB and my problems are everyone's problems. So, what problem awaits us today? I'm so glad you asked. At first glance, you might think this is a political party subject, but it isn't at all. Don't fall for that trap. This is ideological. This is bigger than any political party, and it's an issue that men need to hear and discuss just as much as women. All right, so the heart of this problem goes back to the idea of classical beauty. And beauty is really, really important to the human condition. It's the redefinition of beauty and degradation or all-out destruction of it that is causing some terrible domino effects in our society. So bear with me for a bit because we're going to get into some interesting discussions. Beauty, what it is, what it means, why one group of people value it more than the other, why women are mocked for it while others praised, all that jazz. Beauty, you see, becomes a sort of canary in the coal mine, if you will, of how all the other classical virtues are valued by society at any given time. Because beauty has both shallowness and depth, right? So we have so-called beauty being sought after or appreciated in everything from media-driven plastic surgery to the timeless art of Michelangelo. It presents a very unique insight into the sort of hive mind of society of different people groups. What they value, why they value it, how they defend those values or promote them to new generations. What do those values then represent, and what other virtues are intrinsically linked or connected to them? You ready? I'm going to ask a question that no one wants to ask, and I'm going to swear some other earmuff time, okay, just like we practiced. She's gonna be so mad at me for saying that. Here's my problem. When did it become okay or even celebrated for liberal progressive women to be flat out, no holds barred bitches to their conservative counterparts for what they look like? More than that, when did the stereotypical traditional female beauty or pursuit thereof become defined as gender cosplay and an outward sign of submission to the patriarchy? It's really weird, especially considering what most of the women saying this perpetuating garbage look like. Oh, is that mean? Whoops, my bad. As a grown adult human, I can't understand how a single demographic of women who built their entire platform claiming to champion other women, or even men pretending to be women at this point, have no problem unapologetically making fun of what women who disagree with them look like. It's just so high school. I'm not talking about sophomoric bathroom gossip or like a snide classroom remark. No, I'm talking about Tina Fey directed Mean Girls, Lindsay Lohan getting bullied by Regina George level of petty, shallow, baseless bitchiness. And I use this less than illustrious term because it's honestly the most fitting. It's a word applied to women of low character or virtue or female dogs. And apparently the New York Times keeps them on the payroll. The women, not the dogs. Although considering the caliber of their content the last few years, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like an army of angry cats running that editorial room. Who knows? What am I talking about? Well, let's take a look. A perfect example of this publicly accepted petty bashing redefining of beauty as a whole happened a few months back when the New York Times published an article that caught my eye called "The Trumpification of Kristi Noem. The South Dakota governor's new teeth are just the latest step in a very MAGA makeover," by a woman named Vanessa Friedman, an article which should more fittingly be renamed "Dear Conservative Women, Stop Being Pretty. Glow-ups are not allowed. Traditional beauty is a sign you're an idiot, and bow down to the golden image of Donald Trump." Pretty silly, right? It's literally an entire article dedicated to making fun of the governor's new veneers, her teeth. Let me just say, as the daughter of a dentist who specializes in cosmetics, I'm personally like a little offended. I also still have all my original teeth if anyone needs a dentist out there, so thank you, Dr. Mark Brannon. You know, it's one thing to write about candidates or politicians' ideological shifts or publicly supported policy changes over time and how they've perhaps physically transformed over a decade, moving with the times as we all do and evolving in style and presentation. This is different. I mean, Lord knows we've all had a glow up or two at this point. Friends, I had adult braces until I was like 26, okay? Don't even get me started about the one time the woman at the mall waxed off my eyebrows. And I just had these like sad little lines for 5 years. They wouldn't grow back. Or the times I would, early 2000 trends, right? The boots with the fur. Yeah, I had several pairs of Uggs. Thank you, Flo Rida. Really appreciate that. But I have evolved for the most part. I still wear a retainer at night. Just don't tell anyone. So it's one thing to critique opinions changing, right? It's quite another to spend over 1,000 words of envied New York Times font purely mocking another woman's physical features and claiming that any quote-unquote improvements she made were solely to gain the attention and favor of a single man in power, to prove her worth to him, to show him that she's enough and she's pretty, and it's basically saying like, please like me, sir. Because apparently this isn't real life where every woman filters the crap out of themselves and the Kardashians are synthetic fembots at this point. No, this is some 90s makeover movie like She's All That. Now, that's just bitchy. But it's exactly what author Vanessa Friedman The Times did and continue to do. Personally, I think the New York Times should have a new subheading under their title line, Official Publisher of the Real Life Mean Girls Slam Book. Friedman's a Princeton grad, right? She has been the fashion director and chief fashion critic of the Times since 2014. According to her New York Times bio page, she does not actively participate in political causes, yet has never, at least as far as I could find, never negatively covered any liberal woman's new veneers or physical features in print, and regularly mocks specifically only conservative politicians based on aesthetics, or even more disappointingly, attacks their wives and daughters. Last time I checked, wives and daughters weren't political candidates, and there used to be some semblance of decorum that would prevent journalists from making fun of the women on the sidelines. No mas. So yeah, Friedman, apolitical? Aw, apolitical my ass, sweetheart. In fact, besides articles on runway show style trends and repeated fangirl coverage of Jill Biden's hideous grandma dressing, it is hideous, guys. There's only one subject that she seems like obsessed with or to cover with any regularity: what the Trump family looks like and how women like Casey DeSantis dress strategically. By which I'm guessing she means like why or how conservative women actually dress like women and not trendy, androgynous, woke teenagers. Before the insanity that has been the nomination of Kamala Harris as the Democratic presidential candidate, back just a few months ago when Biden was still running and Dr. Jill was still pretending that her elderly husband was cognitively okay and capable of running the country, Friedman went so far as to compare fashion photos of both Jill Biden and Melania Trump. She basically went out to say, since the last election, Dr. Biden has carefully positioned herself not as the trophy first lady on a pedestal, but as the working first lady next door. Now, this is the part to pay attention to. The two pictures served as a sort of preview or curtain raiser for what is to come, as Dr. Biden and Mrs. Trump played an increasing public roles in their husbands' campaigns, and every detail, including what they wear, matters. The vibes may be workhorse versus show horse, but each is effective. Yes, you heard that correctly. Friedman called Melania Trump a show horse. You know, because quieter, beautiful, well-dressed women who are former models and actually got paid to be photographed naked. They speak like, 5 languages and have lived the immigrant's American dream of coming to America and becoming the first lady. Well, they cannot be anything more than glorified arm candy existing purely for show. They're only ornaments, as they called in the article, and decoration for their rich husbands. All they do is go shopping all day without a serious thought in their head, because they, being conservative women, must be immensely and pathetically stupid and apparently fiscally irresponsible. I will concede, however, that Dr. Jill Biden being aesthetically equated to a workhorse seems fair. My point is that for a publication which wrote an entire article calling out Donald Trump for calling women derogatory names based on their physical appearance, and has continued to comment on this over and over and over again, including as recently as a few months ago, the media at large, and the Times specifically, seem to have absolutely no problem hypocritically doing the same to women who vote for Trump, which may not be horse-faced, but it's definitely two-faced. And I really, really hate hypocrisy. So here we are. It's a sad day in America when you can no longer tell the difference between teenage girl bullying and the treatment of the nation representation of roughly half the country's female population. Let me be clear, I am fully aware that both sides are guilty to some extent, and I am no fan of the less than decorous behavior of conservative women who are loose cannons on the scene. I mean, the whole fake eyelash thing that happened recently between Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and Texas Rep. Jasmine Crockett during the House Oversight Committee meeting that had convened to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt for refusing to comply with a subpoena, that was television gold. Greene literally told Crockett, she goes, "I think your false eyelashes are messing up what you're reading." And then said she wouldn't apologize to Crockett and challenge her to a debate. And when Crockett refused, Greene goes, "Yes, you don't have enough intelligence." The Oversight Committee Chair, James Comer, ruled Greene's comments were not in violation of House rules. So then Crockett asked for clarification of those rules and fires this back. She said, "Just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built, butch body, that would not be engaging personalities, correct?" That little comeback, it derailed the meeting for nearly another hour. I'm sorry, is this Congress with grown adult women? Or is this your local high school cafeteria during prom season? It's a little hard to tell. So while this pettiness absolutely exists on both sides in real life altercations, there's a distinct and marked difference between off-the-cuff derogatory comments made in real time and the New York Times publicly eviscerating the Trump women or Governor Kristi Noem in print and in perpetuity because she got veneers and some Botox, which I'm pretty sure is true of like most women under 70 at this point, except for me. I have absolutely done Botox, like, if you only knew how much. Bottles. I'm a woman, not a saint, all right? Actually, it's been a while and my face is moving a lot, hiding no thoughts. They're just out there. Inflation, guys. Inflation's gotten to the talks. Bidenomics, baby. Yet another reason to vote for Trump. Do it for Botox prices. But hey, Vanessa Friedman in the New York Times, if you want to write about something worth poking fun at or criticizing Governor Noem for, what about something about how she shot herself in the foot, writing about how she shot her dog in her autobiography? I mean, that was something worth writing about. Her teeth? Not so much. What's the point? Oh, friends, we forgot she's a conservative and she's pretty and Trump likes her. Friedman diminishes her to the equivalent of a wannabe influencer who will push product and directly ties her change in appearance to the Make America Great Again movement and Trump's rise to the presidency instead of the actual arc it naturally aligns with her rising political career. Because, you know, conservative women obviously only want to look good for men and absolutely not because they're the governor of an entire state and are constantly on the public eye and television. Let's not be crazy. Did we say as conservatives that Kamala Harris's whitened smile and Brazilian blowout was a bid to be Bidened? Where's the new article saying the glow up of a wannabe Madam President from slutty side piece political hustler to pantsuit wearing VP was all to bow down to the evil and objectifying male gaze? It doesn't exist because that would be ridiculous. Besides, everyone knows that when picking his VP, Joe Biden only cared about how you smelt and if you tasted like ice cream. It's a totally different sensory perceptions anyway. Yet here we are. If you didn't know, Kristi Noem has won every single election she's raced in by a wide margin. She's a married mother of 3 who dropped out of college and went back to have her family. She had her first child and then she completed her degree online while working full-time. She started from nothing. No connections, no family legacy, no Ivy League degree, no pedigree to run for office. She became known for not enforcing crazy COVID lockdown and then was on the short list to potentially be the first Republican female vice president. That's impressive. Even if she is from South Dakota. It could be worse, guys. It could be North Dakota. All in all, she is pretty, what's that word? Normal. And that is where the trouble starts because normal is traditional. Oh, welcome back to the pod, guys. Did you forget this is all about tradition and how it is at the heart of conservative values, which are the only thing holding humanity and any thriving society together. See, it all makes sense now. Didn't see it coming, but we got there. Being a traditional wife and mother with conservative values and beliefs means that you are the enemy of the liberal mean girls who are currently running this country or high school, and there is no seat for you at the lunch table. Don't forget, this is high school 2.0. So the cool girls tell any of us normies, no, you can't sit with us. And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. but it's because we support Planned Parenthood. But that's okay. Red is a far superior color anyway. They are saying that you traditional value holding women who like to be feminine and value classical beauty and just want to look nice are nothing more than mindless human blow-up dolls existing for the patriarchal domination and sexual pleasure of men. An army of dunces. It doesn't even matter if you have a matching Ivy League degree and can keep up with the conversation, trust me, or keep up with the conversation in multiple languages like Melania Trump. No. All that matters is that you are not one of them. You are not one of the cool kids. Well, I'd like us to grow up now. It's time. Besides, we all know that the cool kids in high school always grow up to be losers. I'm tired of conservative women being treated like the new girl at school by their petty, mean girl liberal counterparts. But it's so much deeper than that. It's making certain hitherto standard of beauty not just a bad thing, but a specifically male-owned and defined thing. Welcome to Feminist RS. It's degrading beauty into mere sexual lust or just being an object of desire or attraction. According to Friedman, President Donald Trump is the wizard behind this pretty political woman curtain, pulling strings and defining what a conservative it girl should look and sound like. I mean, he's practically Anna Wintour of politics, guys. Didn't you know? You can be smart, come from humble beginnings, work your butt off, live the American dream, overcome adversity, and get yourself to be on the short list to be vice president. But according to the jealous mean girls out there, it's just because you're a certain kind of pretty. And that standard level of pretty, as defined in 2024, is apparently branded, owned, licensed by none other than Donald J. Trump, not beauty itself. All you need is hair extensions, veneers, bit of Botox, and then you're considered Trump's kind of woman. It also means, according to Friedman, that looking a certain way equates to women like Kristi Noem being submissive and subordinate. Not a person capable of challenging Trump on anything actual political she might disagree with him on. Again, she's just pure icing on the proverbial cake. Window dressing, ornaments for the Trump tree. Unlike Kamala being our current VP to a very old white man because she's a black Indian female. Here's a problem. The message being shoved down the throats of Gen Z and millennials alike is that if you are classically pretty, you are a part of the patriarchy. You are a dumb woman. You have no masculine girl boss energy, nasty gal vibes. Where's your pantsuit? How are you not in your villain era yet? Aren't you a high value woman? Who needs a man? Dear God, that's not pink lipstick, is it? Those better be kitten heels. Nothing over 2 inches. That's what she said. But I won't make that joke. It's inappropriate. Women like Noam are treated as if they are ugly, talentless actors in the old Hollywood backlots, like picked out of a faceless crowd by a producer who sees them and it's like, hey, Toots, you got potential. They're taking on this Marilyn Monroe star machine, where the Norma jeans are tweaked and poked and bleached and waxed and smoothed and plumped, and then promptly put in a nice dress and push-up bra, ready for their breathy co-star demure debut alongside the leading man. In fact, they aren't treated like people at all. They're considered mere props to be used by men, because men are the ones with all the power. We mustn't forget that successful white men especially are the real problem and simply use everyone and everything around them to perpetuate their patriarchal, misogynistic control. Of this, the left ceasingly reminds us. The Handmaid's Tale becoming a reality is only one Republican president away. Gird your liberal feminist loins. Go on a sex strike, which, by the way, thank you on behalf of humanity to those ladies for not reproducing. Much appreciated. So back to the question of why grown women are so comfortable using their professional girl boss platforms to bash and cut down conservative women as if we're in high school. The deeper answer. Because conservatives love beauty and liberals don't believe it really even exists. Ta-da! Welcome back to class, kids! Beauty is a classical virtue. It is one of the ever-present threads in humanity and history that transcends time, space, culture, beliefs, ideologies, religions, you name it. Her sisters are in truth and goodness. Remember episode 1? We back. The beauty of a sunrise or sunset has been beheld and appreciated by all of mankind since the world first began. There is within the heart of every man, woman, and child an inherent ability to recognize beauty all around us, which goes back to natural law, the understanding and acknowledgement that inherent moral compass which beats in the heart of every human on earth and always has. We know beauty. Deep in our soul, we know it. We might deny it and try to redefine it, but the beauty of a woman has inspired more art, poetry, music, and bar brawls over the last 6,000 years than anything else. Psyche was hated by Aphrodite for her beauty and was forced to walk the earth and be tortured and tasked with the unbearable as punishment. In ancient Greece, the woman Phryne was allegedly saved from death during her infamous trial for impiety by the legendary orator Hyperides by exposing her naked breast to the Areopagus jurors, who at the sight of her could not condemn to death such perfect physical embodiment of beauty. To kill her would be to destroy a perfect pair of boobs. Couldn't do it. King David, he saw Bathsheba taking a bath and not only committed adultery, got her pregnant, but then murdered her husband, who was actually like a really nice guy, because of beauty. Beauty moves us. It is something that does something inside of us that inspires. It's what gets the shy guy to pluck up the courage to walk across the room and ask that girl for her number. It gives us something to live for. Beauty makes us brave. I took a class at the Searcy Institute this last year by my dear friend, Jonathan Council, and we were discussing beauty. One important thought that came up that sort of runs contrary to our world was interesting. And the thought is, it is the pursuit of beauty which is the goal, not the attainment or the capturing of beauty itself. It is the objective of beauty should be to appreciate it, right? We see butterflies when we touch their wings and they die, or a cut rose compared to a rose bush. It is incumbent upon us as human beings to do something with beauty. Is this what we call wisdom? The knowing of what the proper thing to do with beauty is? Wisdom is not having the definition of beauty strictly set, but in being able to recognize what beauty is and isn't, and be more prudent and more capable of recognizing beauty in everything around us. Prudence, after all, is one of the ancient virtues, who has given us more than we can possibly understand in today's age. But we'll discuss her another time. In a way, an interesting thought is to look at sexual rape and its correlation to beauty and the pursuit or desire of it. By this, I mean rape perpetrated by a man and a woman. It's essentially the forced and violent attempt to attain and own and experience beauty. The beauty of a woman, her body, the sexual pleasure one can gain from that. I think a good example is the misunderstanding of beauty and culture and how we pursue it as individuals and as a people group. Beauty can be violent. The pursuit of it can be violent and painful. Plastic surgery is surgery. After all, they open up your body, they do things. Remember, beauty is pain. That comes from women physically hurting themselves by wearing corsets they couldn't breathe in and wearing high heels that killed their feet. These are just some things for you to think about as we discuss the subject here and in the future. So although we are not, here and now, we're discussing more superficial, lesser beauty of the modern physical world with fake teeth and hair, the quest for and love of beauty is nothing new. The hatred of it, however, is. The examples of this on the left are unending, starting with the hideous and often grotesquely ridiculous postmodern art. What immediately comes to mind for me was the art student who went viral a few years ago with her dissertation project being, and I'm so sorry, these words have to come out of my mouth now, but there's no going back. Her project was her mattress covered in menstrual blood. Pretty disgusting, guys, but they called it moving, an important art representing the beauty and strength of a woman. It became an art trend. So popular news outlets did all these articles starting in 2016. And this quote killed me inside. I'm going to try not to laugh while I read this. Ready? Elsewhere, menstrual blood is used because it can, in all honesty, look quite beautiful. For her project, Beauty and Blood, is she a vampire, by the way? Denver-based feminist artists. See, they always have to be feminist artists. They can never just be artists, because then they would actually have to compete and be judged against real artists and not other talentless feminists who claim to be artists. But I digress. Feminist artist Jen Lewis collects her menstrual blood before drizzling it down a clean toilet bowl, to render interesting designs. Her husband then photographs the swirling red. You can't make this crap up. The final images are captivating. Are they, Jen? Are they captivating? In her artistic statement, Lewis insists she makes this work because institutionalized hierarchies maintain and support the outdated patriarchal belief that menstruation makes the female body inferior to the male body. Here, blood isn't disgusting. It becomes a thing of beauty. That was painful. And I'm a woman who's experienced the beauty of the red moon phase. Let me tell you, it's not beautiful. It's painful and annoying, and I get really hungry, and I cry at PetSmart grooming commercials. So yeah. Let's unpack that Pandora's box. This woman literally named her artwork Beauty in Blood. That gives me the creeps, and I do in fact have an art degree, so I can say that. but so can you because you're a human being with a functional brain. So from this really disturbing and messed up art being called beautiful to the destruction of architecture, right? So look at the oppressive, brutalist, concrete, heavy Cold War architecture that replaced highly intricate and highly crafted Greco-Roman European architecture in the early 20th century. We see this in most revolutions, right? Like the Bolshevik Revolution destroying the throne of the Tsars and imperialist Russia. And in China, we saw the raising of architecture and artwork that represented thousands of years of dynasties in imperialist China by Chairman Mao Zedong and his Communist Party. Fast forward, and we have the destruction of beautiful historical American statues and buildings in the Black Lives Matter George Floyd protests in 2020. The lesson is this: beauty is always under attack by those who do not hold traditional values. Beauty is a threat because beauty is true. Beauty is not fair. It's hierarchical. In fact, beauty represents the ultimate inequality. The same way intelligence does, or talent. It's proof of what men like Edmund Burke and Thomas Jefferson called natural aristocracy. You are either born with something or you are not. You're either smart or pretty or talented or tall because your genetics predisposed you to be that way. It was their argument against ruling thrones and monarchies being hereditary and being passed down to an unworthy inbred heir, instead of being given to the best or smartest person for the job. It's why we in Western societies have elections instead of a rolling family of royalty. Real beauty, not this 2024 plastic surgeon anywhere can give you bigger butt or boobs or whiter teeth or whiter whatever. But real beauty that is awe-inspiring is either something you're born with or not. Any quick perusal of social media accounts like Libs of TikTok exposes the intrinsic disdain and hatred of classical and physical beauty by the left and liberal women at large. From the women with the shaved or dyed heads of a variety of colors, my father's particular favorite is the purple-haired people. And the faces and bodies just like covered in piercings and tattoos, to those who outright reject the feminine and relabel themselves as non-binary or androgynous, or now you can even be a man and simply think your way into attaining some garish cartoon version of female beauty, like being a woman is just a costume you can wear. This all points to the same problem. They, those on the left, reject classical beauty. And maybe they are first attracted to this ideology because they aren't considered beautiful and are insecure or jealous of those who naturally are. Maybe they're jealous of those who have the money to buy themselves plastic surgery or completely new everything, like the Kardashians. You know, they hate the 1% and capitalists, so why not throw the beautiful in there too? The talented or intelligent aren't far behind. I mean, look how unfair college standard admission requirements are now, right? I shouldn't have to be a certain level of smart to be a doctor or a lawyer or a pilot. I should be able to be morbidly fat and even a man and still win a beauty pageant. It's all got to be equal. Everyone has to be the same. We should all get participation trophies. How dare you in any way think you're better than me? Rude. I mean, friends, this is insane. Beauty in craft and art speaks to a form of excellence, of someone being incredibly good at something, more than anyone else, and of someone being able to own or attain or observe that beauty. Again, beauty by nature is inegalitarian. Lady Fortune has either shined down on you or she has not. A good literary example of this, and one of my recommended readings for the week, is my favorite book of all time, C.S. Lewis's Till We Have Faces. This is the story of Psyche, mythologically the most beautiful woman on earth, so beautiful that Cupid falls in love with her. And the story is told by her ugly half-sister, Orul. Orul is cursed with like an ugly face, so hideous that it makes her wear a veil to hide it most of her life. Her little sister is blessed with a face so beautiful that the god of love himself falls for her. However, Orul becomes a great warrior and noble queen of great character. And since she becomes so great and has been wearing this veil to hide her face for so long, as time goes on, those who know she's ugly like die off. So she becomes so legendary that because of who she is, everyone in the kingdom begins to think she wears this veil to actually hide her great beauty because it would be too much for her to be such a great, wise, brave, noble woman in all these other ways and beautiful. The world at large just wouldn't be able to handle it. The gods, so to speak, blessed her as well as her sister with ugliness because her intelligence, loneliness, rejections, with that came something that formed strength of character, goodness, greatness. Not just anyone can be great, much less a queen, warrior, leader of people. Very few, in fact. inequality strikes yet again. So here and now in our postmodern world, we've gone to a whole new level of crazy because hating on beauty, I mean, before there was at least some sort of line. I don't think the Soviets ever pretended that their cold, brutalist buildings of block and oppression and depression were beautiful. Now we do. Because as you may recall from the first episode, beauty is now relative. But that's a lie. Beauty's math, and math doesn't lie. We literally have mathematical golden ratios for faces that can measure one's beauty by geometry and proportion. But hey, liberals now tell us that in addition to truth and beauty, math is relative and racist, apparently. Who knew? But it actually tracks with their entire ideology. So going back to articles like the one that the Times printed, it's actually pretty simple. Friedman claims that as an editor and writer, she focuses on writing about fashion as an expression of political, social, and cultural identity at a specific moment in time, especially how it is used by those in the public eye to communicate values and influence opinion. Friedman sees the art of fashion, of how people present themselves, as a way to quote unquote communicate values. And if you caught that preamble, she's using our old friend historicism to do it because she defines the identity represented by fashion as being specific to a moment in time. This is a very important point. Women like Kristi Noem and Melania Trump communicate traditional feminine values, timeless femininity. They embrace long hair or flowy dresses, the heels, the lipsticks, and handbags, being wives, being mothers, honoring their husbands, letting them be men who lead the relationship or household. I know, all you feminists out there, I physically felt you shudder. Can you believe I just said that out loud? Cancel me. Try it. It's the classical feminine, right? The things that women have been associated with for thousands of years. Thousands. It is what we are genetically predisposed for and gravitate toward. That's why little girls like dresses and dolls. But this is not accepted by the cool kids. This must be mocked, belittled, and made to feel unacceptable. The left only accepts communicating that, since according to them, truth does not exist, neither do her sisters beauty and goodness, or any other classical virtue with a firm grip in ancient reason or philosophy. Don't forget, being normal is like so passé. After all, let's recall the slogans getting shoved down our throats by the left. It's girl boss time, bitch. Women do it better. The future is female. Boys suck. Mom, I am a rich man. Blah. They want to communicate postmodern values. Values that break tradition with millennia of human history, despite that history proving time and time again that society collapses and destruction follows when that break in value occurs. In bewilderingly and seemingly constant confusion over this rather easy observation, the Scientific American magazine recently published an article trying to understand the main difference between liberals and conservatives. Needless to say, they were very confused. The results of decades worth of studies and research? Not shockingly, they discovered that at its core, it is whether people believe the world is entirely or inherently hierarchical. Conservatives, our work shows, tend to believe more strongly than liberals in a hierarchical world, which is essentially the worldview that the universe is a place where lines between categories or concepts matter. You don't say. Yeah, I wonder how much money they wasted on that study. I mean, they could have paid me. I would have charged them less. This goes back to the concept of natural aristocracy again. We believe that men and women are different, that both good and evil exist, that some people are smarter or prettier or stronger than others, that truth is not a matter of opinion. We believe in order over chaos. We champion beauty over brutalism. At least we should. Which can be boiled down in this case aesthetically to women would rather look like Margot Robbie or Angelina Jolie than Amy Schumer or Lena Dunham. And anyone who says differently is lying to you and probably themselves. This all proves to be an actual scientific fact that every single research project or blind value study on the subject agrees with, even artificial intelligence. Conservative women are prettier than their liberal counterparts, literally according to artificial intelligence. The value of beauty trickles down into how we wish to present ourselves to the world. So it isn't hard to claim that liberal women don't like conservative women because they're prettier. We actually are prettier. Go back to the high school mentality. We are the nerdy, straight A's, choir class attending, honor roll listed virgin from AP English. I literally just described myself. Who gets asked to prom by the most popular guy in school. That is not describing myself. I had a friend take me. We have the attention of the people they want to get attention from. But we're the good girls, not the ones smoking joints and hooking up in the parking lot after school. We're basically Mandy Moore in A Walk to Remember. And now I've just aged myself quite a bit. After all, you can take the mean girls out of high school, but you can never really take high school out of the mean girls. It's where they peaked. Which is deeply unfortunate because the gritty truth is that being a conservative woman with skin in the game, culturally or politically, is incredibly difficult. Trust me. There are many stereotypes to push back against, and it often proves to be a struggle to be taken seriously, even by those within our own party, especially by certain kinds of men. As a whole, we value traditional homes where women prioritize being wives and mothers over having careers. So those of us who perhaps have graduate degrees or who are still unmarried by no fault of our own, or feel called to take our careers seriously, can feel ostracized or criticized by those within the community. It takes sheer determination to push back against the majority in a situation like this. I'm going to be frank, the odds are not in your favor. It would be really, really nice if women could reach across the political and ideological aisle and be kind to one another, instead of making fun of how they look. To call Governor Noem a mere ornament for Trump is beyond insulting. For any woman, let alone a conservative woman, to reach the national political stage, sacrifices must be made, glass ceilings broken. You need to be a force. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first woman to be appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. But no one worships her the way they do Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because Sandy D, well, she was a Republican appointee and a fairly moderate conservative judge. In fact, I bet you'd be hard-pressed to find an RBG fangirl who knows that O'Connor was the first woman on the court and not their beloved Ruthie. They own that narrative. Conservative women simply aren't taken seriously by liberals, especially the attractive one. There are no award-nominated movies being made about us, no designer t-shirts with our initials and phone cases emblazoned with our pictures on them. We're all lumped into the same category as like talking blonde heads on Fox News. We are boiled down to a caricature. Well, to that I say, we can't all look as unappealing to the male sex as Rachel Maddow, no matter how hard we may try. So when Vanessa Friedman says of Noem that her traditional femininity, that, and I quote, the promise of a powerful woman was defanged, I mean, what is she, a cat? By her participation in the pageantry of traditional gender cosplay. She's literally saying that a conservative woman who looks like a woman and acts like a woman is neither powerful nor serious. She's merely plain dress up, wearing a woman costume. Okay, Vanessa, now do transgender women. I freaking dare you. In June 2024, the magazine The New Yorker, this subject is literally the cover, friends. The title of the article was, "Are Republican Women Okay? How did Republican women end up like this? The baffling contradictory demands of being female in the party of Donald Trump." Man, that title. And it has this like awful mashup artwork of well-known conservative women's body parts. It's written by Rebecca Traister, the woman who writes books promoting being, and I quote, happily unmarried, claiming that us modern women are becoming the men we want to marry, and that marriage is simply designed to benefit men at the social, intellectual, financial, emotional, and often physical expense of women who could be forced to never recognize their own intellectual, emotional, sexual, and social capacity as human beings. So again, good old Rebecca thinks you are basically subhuman and a doormat if you are a traditional married woman. Ironically, she is married and has been since she was like in her 20s. So she must not have been all that happy being single or believe the lies she's telling millions of young women. Her cover article said this: for conservative women to gain any political authority, they must submit to Donald Trump and conform to his standards. Womanly fealty to Trump can be vividly expressed by meeting the physical demands of his universe. Kristi Noem has undertaken an astonishing physical transformation. Gone are the boxy-do and blazers. She now sports long, highlighted waves. Her cheekbones are angular, her lips are pillowy, her eyelashes go on forever, and she wears body-skimming dresses. Yeah, you're literally describing like every woman that lives in Scottsdale or LA. So, good job, Rebecca. Then she adds, interestingly, it's the Democratic women who can articulate the mix of football and Barbie and healthcare and labor without tripping over themselves, who seem more comfortable in their own bodies. In their fevered performances of hyperfemininity and hypermasculinity, so many of the GOP's most visible women are themselves engaging in a form of drag. Theirs is surely drag's inverse Gothic universe. Well, I had no idea I was a Gothic drag queen, but I will add that to my bio. Man, I'm feeling like super edgy and cool right now. I hate it. Then Rebecca says that this female conservative drag covers something awful and real, that the identities of those women are no more valued or recognized by the party for which they labor than gay or trans or feminist identities are. Women fundamentally cannot lead a party that wants to oppress women. They cannot, in fact, even be fully human within it. So I guess I'm not like a fully human person. I mean, I feel real. Here's the lie again in black and white. Pretty, beauty-loving, conservative women who are feminine and adhere to traditional values are not just considered hyper-feminine by the majority of their liberal counterparts, but are apparently performing an act of being a woman, are participating in gothic, inverse drag, and made-up gender roles, and are inherently oppressed by men and cannot be leaders politically in their own party or even be fully human because they are conservative. Oh, Rebecca apparently thinks you also can't be gay and be conservative. To which I have a few friends I'd love her to meet who would school her on that. Rick Renaud, where you at? Again, this is all just really bad math. As someone who took AP Calculus, I'm telling you ladies to go back to high school. You missed basic algebra. But this is the new messaging to society, men and women alike. Maybe the reality is that due to years of brainwashing by their siloed work environments, friend groups, and academic institutions, liberal women only understand ugliness. It's like only being able to see the negative space. They've bought into this lie that the norm or traditional understanding of beauty is some kind of prison in which women are enslaved as mere sexual objects. Beauty is diminished into something cheap and borderline gross, like artificial grass planted in a forest meadow. It becomes something hollow that can be bought and sold and generally commoditized. And that type of beauty is okay because it's fake. It's the same mentality that they use to tell us one-night stands are sexual freedom, but committed relationships are sexual oppression. Make it make sense. Again, science will prove you wrong on all those. It's shallow and plastic. It's pornography instead of poetry. They can't accept the pure inequity of beauty. And I think this bothers mean girls because deep down, they want to be pretty too. Which is the point that liberals repeatedly miss. Beauty isn't owned by conservatives or conservative women, let alone by Donald Trump. We just value it more than you do. We believe in it objectively, like we believe in truth or the existence of the sun and the moon or gravity. But here's the thing. You can choose to value and believe in it too. Anyone can. You can choose to stop acting like you're just another mean girl in high school who bullies the pretty new girl that threatens your popularity ranking. You can choose to be smart and kind and see women across the political aisle as separate but on parallel paths. That's real feminism. You can recognize the beauty and the power of beauty is intangible and ancient, and you can deny it until you're blue in the face, but it does not change reality. Facts are facts. What you can change is how you value beauty. And judge those who disagree with you. That's always a choice. Women like Vanessa Friedman and Rebecca Traister and the twisted ideologies they are pushing on society are the problem. They are petty high school bullies should not be given a platform to mock other women's appearances because it empowers and emboldens younger girls to do the same. They are trolls. They are big adult lady trolls. What's worse is that they're trolls with really bad information and really big platforms. And women are listening to them. It has to stop. We have to push back. We have to preach the truth about beauty. We must fight for classical virtues loudly and emphatically. High school's over, ladies. We've all graduated. Hate to break it to you, but life isn't fair. This is the real world where we value and judge and base others based on integrity and character and make judgments not on what they look like or dismiss smart women as empty ornaments for men because they believe in traditional values. Pretty women can be smart, and smart women often believe in classical virtues, read history, and promote tradition. Hi, my name's Tiffany. Nice to meet you. Beauty's important. Beauty's math. Beauty's truth. At the end of the day, I'm not someone who would ever judge another woman's intelligence purely based on their physical beauty or write an article mocking their new teeth because I disagree with their political beliefs. If I did, I'd be a bitch. And you'd be reading this in the New York Times. Thanks for joining this episode of TMB Problems. We hope you'll join us every week as we continue to tackle all the problems that I have, which, are a lot. I have a lot of problems. But as we've established, my problems are everyone's problems, so you guys gotta help. You gotta chip in here. I can't do this by myself.